Okay, welcome everyone to a special episode, the one we haven't done in a while of the podcast. And today we're talking about men's mental health. We're raising awareness and funds as per the Just Giving link for Men Who Talk. It's something that's close to our hearts, and as a community, we want to open up that conversation, not just about mental health, but also how chronic pain, burnout, and pressure affect men in everyday life. Joining me today is one of the biggest members of PGR, and that is Noodles. We're taking off the helmets and being real. Noodles, welcome to the conversation.
Hello, hello. I like the fact that you're fat shaming me already, saying the biggest. Jesus,
Yeah, there we go.
30 seconds in. There we go. Yeah.
That's not what you should do.
It's good to be here, and it's a very important topic. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And we're going to spend about an hour today, guys, just opening up about our own kind of experiences with mental health, and me and Noodles we'll touch upon later also have a medical condition that does affect us on a daily basis, so we are going to talk about that, and please do donate, for it's a great cause. So the charity we are raising for this Saturday is Men Who Talk, and with the amount of suicides in the UK, especially being 3/4 men, it will be really good to see if we can raise the £1,000 target that we've set. And let's see if we can do that. But let's kick things off, Noodles. So we hear it all the time: man up, don't cry, just get on with it. It's like we're trained to hide everything as men. Do you think that's changing now in today's society? Have you noticed any differences in kind of how guys talk about mental health compared to a few years ago?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot more spotlight in like the normal media and stuff like that, and especially over the last, like, let's say 5-10 years, then you really do see the rhetoric try and change, because yeah, you're exactly right. Like it's become quite a larger, almost a quiet issue that's kind of has happened over the last like 50-70 years that no one's really changed. And it's now, when we're doing research into it, that we find that, say, I think I was doing some reading earlier about it, and something like 63% of men avoid actually seeking help rather than ask for it, just because of the fear that they will then be seen as weak or potentially embarrassed. And it kind of goes against what you would normally and almost stereotypically associate with being a man. So that there's normally quite a stoic way of going about, where you've got that like classic Viking aspect of just whatever problem comes your way, then you can solve it, you can crack on, you can kind of continue. But yeah, changing life, changing society, and obviously you and I have had changes in our own lives that have really knocked us on our backs and screwed with us on a daily basis going forward. So yeah, I'm glad of the change, and it's nice seeing it not just as a change in rhetoric for everyone. The fact that we're doing this now and we're able to feel comfortable in talking about all of this to a community of around about 200-300 is actually quite awesome. So yeah. I'm glad of the change.
I agree. I think especially me at 32 years old now, I feel like I've been around for both halves, if that makes sense, where in my late teens to early 20s, the kind of mindset was, oh, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. You shouldn't be showing your emotions. You need to toughen up. You need to man up, as the phrase says. And the last, especially 6 to 8 years, you've definitely seen a complete difference in people hopefully trying to change and just listen to each other, speak to each other. And you're right, I think it is definitely moving in the right direction. However, still 3/4 of suicides being men, or just suicides in general, is one person too many at the start, to start with. So we've got a long way to go, but hopefully things like this do help.
No, absolutely. I mean, so I don't know about yourself. Do you have kids, Jay?
I do. I have one on the way as well.
Oh, amazing. Congrats. That's awesome. So I've got two myself, and do you ever find yourself that I don't know, you feel like you've turned into your dad, where you go around, you automatically go to say something, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ, my dad said that to me as a kid.
Yeah,
You ever
yeah,
find that?
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But then like there's it's also like attitude and approach. So like my childhood, for instance, was quite regimental, and my dad was relatively strict. He would expect a certain behavior from me, and like how I talked, how I acted as a kid, and stuff like that, and how I presented myself to the world. And to be fair, like I feel like it's then put me in quite good stead. However, I then what 18, I joined the military, and the military is a very masculine community, and it is a whole argument of controlled aggression where, all right, if you get angry, use your anger, you go to vent that frustration at the task in hand, and you almost bulldoze over everything in life. When I then came out the army, and we'll discuss this later anyway, but essentially I had a car crash, and that then left me with chronic neck and back pain, and it then presented itself years later into fibromyalgia, which we'll touch base on later. But I really found quite a struggle, because the change in my body, myself, my life, and the very essence of who I was lost, and I couldn't quite attack the problem the same way. And then going through all the talk and therapies, the therapies themselves, the CBT counselling and stuff like that I've had many years, it was then trying to understand that I actually really needed to change my entire mindset in how I approached this.
Would you say that you tried to keep the regiment of obviously leaving the military, having this car crash, and would you try to say that after that, one of the biggest issues was you were kind of trying to still be regimented, but your body wasn't allowing it? Is that where you were struggling with the most?
Quite literally that, yeah, to a T. And that approach of attack it with aggression, it actually did a lot more issues. It stressed me out, and because I was mentally stressed, then my body then reacted and was creating more pain, and it was like an endless feedback loop of angry, dealing with it, trying to do what just a functioning member of society would do in going to full-time work, being there for the kids, coming home, trying to do chores, help out with the house. And the more I tried, the more it got harder. And again, that approach of like, I'll just man up, I was beating myself up mentally. And one of the big lessons that I've then had to learn, and still learn to this day, is to try and actually be kind to myself. That, for instance, that if something bad has happened in my day that's ruined my day, and it could be something really simple, like someone's cut me up in traffic, or like a small stressor, so to speak, that sometimes actually bad days do actually happen, and that's okay. And that as well, for instance, if my reaction, or say like my body's playing up a little bit, and my reaction is to go take a rest and watch TV for the rest of the day, actually I should actually give myself a break and say, you know what, today wasn't your day, but it's okay to take a break sometimes. Like, you're okay, you're doing all right. Whereas in the past, you would then feel, oh, why are you being so shit? Like, why are you being lazy? Like, why can't you just do this? Why can't you do this? Oh, you're a joke. Like, you're a mess. What are you doing with your life? And it's very, very quick to fall into, again, that mindless feedback loop where you're attacking yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas a bit of empathy, a bit of kindness, where you might, and it's funny because we would always give this type of advice to a friend. If your friend's going through some shit, you're always quite good to give them really good advice and 100%. Say, look, don't worry about it. Like, these things happen. When it comes to yourself, it's, for some reason you forget that and you beat yourself up. And yeah, it was one of the main key points how I think the whole man up culture has changed, and the fact that it is a lot more open for things like therapy, things like talking about it, talking about feelings, or just chatting to friends and family on a consistent basis. So, in answer to your original question, yeah, I think things are changing. Things are changing for the better, but
Mm.
yeah, we've still got a long way to go. And yeah, it's nice to talk about it today.
Yeah, I think Noodles, one key thing as well, which resonated with me when I was doing my research, and my struggles before, is you just said it yourself. Sometimes people are maybe hard on themselves, and they're, as you say, maybe go out and go into a bedroom and kind of go, right, I'm done with the world today. I'm going to just go sit in a corner, kind of thing. That kind of mentality. Whereas there's other
Mm,
people as well that find their kind of selves in a bottle, or doing drugs, and that's obviously one of the bigger causes of then bigger problems,
yeah.
which in turn leads to suicide. And that I can resonate with, because I do find that any time in my life where I felt at my lowest, I do tend to try and seek things through maybe alcohol,
Mm,
to try and get myself that happiness back. And in turn, what that can do is actually complete opposite effect. Um,
yeah.
some of my worst times have been after or during the nights of being on, on the drink. So,
Mm,
and that's a huge thing to raise awareness about, is talking is much better than finding yourselves down the pub sinking 10 pints. Well, we all love to go down the pub and sink 10 pints, but the right mentality is to make sure that we live with a balance, and talking about the things that are inside, worrying you to your friends. Even if you do that at a pub, I don't think there's no issue with that. I think it's just making sure that we do it in the correct kind of, manner, to
yeah,
kind of
safe
look out for
space
each other.
and in moderation. Exactly that. And on, yeah, yeah, reflectively, I've done the exact same thing where you seek a crutch, you seek a difference. And sometimes alcohol certainly helps with that. I think not quite lucky. Lucky is probably the wrong word. My my mum, she had issues with alcohol, and she when what 20, 30 years ago.
Mm,
So I'm same age as you, and when I was a kid, then yeah, my mum drank heavily. She was a household wife essentially, and her whole job was looking after us. And because it was just my mum, like my brother and I, again, we more followed the whole regimental man type thing. Then it's quite easy to look back now and say, okay, well, she was suffering with depression
yeah.
and her mental health was going through that, but there was no support network. There was very little thing that the doctors would do and stuff like that. And now it's so much more. And I wish I almost had the knowledge that I do today to turn around to my younger self and actually change certain things. But because of my experience, then I did see what alcohol did firsthand. And unfortunately, she ended up passing away. And that was down to
Yeah.
cirrhosis of the liver. And she didn't say to anyone, she didn't give us heads up as to what she was suffering with. And it was, yeah, a bit of a shock.
It's
And
hiding in, it's
I
hiding in plain
think,
sight to you, isn't it? In a sense, that
yeah,
is hiding in plain sight, and that is, on reflection, as you say. I'm so really sorry to hear, Noodles. It's
no,
not.
that's right.
Um, uh, Parents seem to be where we first actually get our kind of sense, I think, of, depression. I know that my stepdad has suffered depression for many, many years, due to,
Mm,
he. Long story short, he lived up north with his parents. They had an argument. He came down south, but didn't speak to them for a while. And it's not in the times of now where you can pick up the phone. He went back up north 2 years later, and they had both passed
mm,
away. And that lives
oh,
with him
no.
every single day. But I just think, actually, you make a great point. I think parents can also be your first kind of experience of someone dealing with depression, let alone yourself.
Yeah, there's an interesting theory about chronic illnesses and childhood markers, essentially. And the whole argument behind it is generational trauma. So, even for instance, if you don't have like a certain trigger point in your life, to say, like mine with the car crash, then these certain markers that you've experienced as a kid of things like an unhappy household, simple things like parents just divorcing, um, having like a death in the family at a young age, whether it's like horrific, traumatic, or if it's just like a normal passing, all of these add up. And so when I'm then thinking about my own mental health and then myself as a parent and a dad, then I'm suddenly very much aware as to, oh shit, like my actions have a consequence, even if I would say that I'm a good dad.
Yeah.
But if I'm snapping at my kids more because I'm in pain or because I'm having a bad day with my depression and I'm not talking about it and there's no release to it and it's getting bottled up, then it starts having an effect on those around you, puts pressure on relationships, puts pressure on your kids and stuff like that. And that generational trauma, without anything being done about it, it's just going to repeat. So yeah, when I look back and then think of what I want my kids to grow up like, I want them to talk about emotions. I want to have that calm, collected conversation rather than like that whole, no, go man up. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
it's not useful. It's not constructive.
And again, you're right. We say it to other people, we just don't say it to ourselves. If it's not us dealing with depression, we would go tell our friends, speak to someone. However, we don't take our own advice on board, and that's the key takeaway as well. Um, moving it on. I know obviously we're massive parts of a big community, and PGR, it has everybody from all walks of life. Some use racing as a way to escape stress or pain, and I think that says a lot about how gaming and sport can be therapy in disguise. I don't know if you agree, but I use sometimes my gaming as my let's get away from everyday troubles. What
Yeah.
what is PGR to you, and what do you think it may be to other people as well?
Immediately, the first words that come to mind are a second family. And that's really like a nice little emotional feeling. It's the idea that you could be your crazy, wacky self making really shocking dad jokes, very borderline jokes that are probably too dark necessarily to the right friends, of course, before admins get involved.
There's no
But
bots in here. There's no bots in here, Noodles.
no, no, no. I mean, what was it? The fact that so my nickname, for instance, Noodles, came about because I look slightly Asian. I didn't have any Asian heritage in my lineage whatsoever, but yeah, and because of that, Noodles then stuck through my army years, through this community, and it's become like my not my alter ego, but I guess the true reflection of myself. That
Yeah.
yeah, okay, people know, if they know of me, then they're like, oh yeah, well, he's a bit crazy. Sometimes he comes very upbeat. Sometimes he's quite a bit quiet and reserved. He likes to write essays in the steward forum when he's got penalties or anything like that, which is a fucking eye roll to everyone else. But yeah, it's nice to have a place to just be, to grow, to share as well, and share about a passion that you're really interested in. So yeah, going back to the original question, it totally is a second family. And what's unique, I think, was when I first looked into like social racing. So I think I'll probably explain this in a moment anyway, but the point where I looked into it, then I was, in short, quite socially lonely. And I was going through a very difficult time, and it was a nice way to escape, as you say. And I looked at a couple of F1 lobbies. I remember joining this other group first, and immediately I was like, well, this this isn't friendly. This isn't a family feeling. There's no real social side to it. It's more like you're in the in crowd, or you're going to be very heavily abused without any protection or anything like that. And it was quite toxic, to be honest. And then what was it? I had my first trial run with Air Golf Hazard, and he's a lovely gent. And yeah, immediately afterwards, I was like, I messaged him as well, and I said, honestly, that was some awesome racing. I really had a lot of fun, and I look forward to that. If this is like the snapshot of the actual league and what we get to do, hey, that's really cool. And so we ended up getting chatting, and then we actually realized that both of us did have a type of chronic illness. And immediately, for me, that was quite closed off, I guess. It was like a door opened, and I was like, holy shit.
Was you taken back by that?
Like, this isn't... yeah, almost, because you don't expect it. And I guess if people saw like myself or you like day to day, just going about work and stuff like that, you wouldn't normally associate us being disabled, essentially, or have like all these mental problems. And with normal day to day people as well, you don't associate someone that's smiling with depression. Like one of my favorite comics, Robin Williams, like he's the epitome of that mask that people wear, where they could be going through so much mental turmoil, but the greatest thing that they would like to do is just make other people laugh and other people smile. And so when they walk into a room, they do wear their smile because they make other people happy, and that gives them some meaning to their lives as well.
Yeah.
So having this chat with Air Golf, opening that door, I was like, actually, cool. Like, I'm glad I'm not the only one like this. I'm glad that he has similar stories, similar reflections, and instantly it was just like cool. Like I've got that bond now, and I don't really talk to Air Golf like every day or anything like that, but I know 100%, and there's many others in this league and community, that if I turn around and was just like, I'm having a bit of a bad day, then they'd come and check on me.
Yeah.
Do you do much about like the PGR app, where like reasons to like not race and stuff? Do you like, does that see to you as an admin, or is that more like Hilly and Scotty and stuff?
I do see everything, but it's mainly is Hilly and Manic that would look after the app. Yeah.
So I like to make up and try and create a lot more, I don't know, what's the word? Exotic reasons why I can't race, or why I can, like, or maybe can't race, just to try and make you guys laugh and stuff like that. But one time, I think I was just down, and it wasn't like necessarily I was like down or that level, but I was just like, I'm just too depressed, and I just briefly messaged it in that app, and I just sent it away. Within 15 minutes. Then I had Malik just messaging me saying, hey man, you're right. And I was like, yeah, I'm actually really good. I'm actually in a really good place. But it actually took me back that someone actually came and checked on me just because I said it. Even as a quick joke, it was nice just to be checked in on. And again, it's going back to that whole idea of that second family, because that's what I want my family to be like. So yeah, having this community of random, very strange individuals from all walks of life, even some Germans, then and they know I love them. Stucker, Diablo, Rage, all of them. Then yeah, like, and even to the point where what was it? Diablo came over and stayed with me for his holiday, so to explore UK. Like 2-3 years ago, I wouldn't think of that. And now I had a random German that I'd kidnapped for 2 weeks. I force fed him Marmite. That was one.
How do you take it? Is he all right with it?
Oh, he hated it. I didn't give him any warning or anything like that. I just shoved it on a crumpet and said, look, this is British breakfast. Poor enjoy. He was expecting something like jam, something sweet. I just remember his face like screwing up, going, "It's so salty. Why? Why do you do this? Why do English people do this?"
Noodles, are you telling me that you didn't? Did you not once take him for an all full bring English breakfast or not?
Oh no, 100% I did.
Oh, you
I
did.
I,
Oh,
I,
good,
I
good.
did. I did the full English as well. I didn't just do the awful things. I also took him for like a tea and scone, an afternoon tea. Yeah, we just explored different parts of England. Yeah, it's quite cool.
Yeah, and
But
you
yeah, again, community feeling.
and as you're right, one of the big things is 2 or 3 years ago when you look back, you think, bloody hell, like these people have become such a
Mm,
big part of my life. Now, when me and Hilly first, started to think about making a league, I don't think we ever imagined that PGR would come when it was, especially with the introduction of Manic and the kind of the big effect he's had on the league. But the one big thing that I kind of picked up, and when I was reflecting on the community and how that's impacted me, was I moved away from my hometown where all my mates are about 3 years ago, about the same kind of
mm,
timeline that PGR started. And the one thing I have found is because of my distance to my friends, albeit only half an hour, it's still a struggle to see them
mm.
as much as I used to. Um,
Yeah,
and naturally, I don't know if you find this as well, but as you get older, the big friendship group gets smaller. Um, and in a sense, I think I was really struggling with the move socially, with how that has impacted me from going out maybe with my friends twice a week. But where
yeah,
I found a lot of kind of safe haven and enjoyment was obviously the friends I made through PGR, and the past 3 years have formed many tight knit bonds where to the point where quite recently I went up to London to meet 5 or 6 of them. So um, I did not
and they're
realise.
all dickheads.
Yeah, they're all absolute bellends, and it'll be the last time I ever see them. Um, and no, but I just didn't realise how, because on my bad days, and I get them, I may not be
Yeah,
talkative in the party chat, but I'm still there, and that is because I feel like it is a safe spot in a sense of, okay, they maybe will cheer me up, or I just want life to not be so serious for a moment. Let's just banter about
yeah.
Armin's new girlfriend, or let's banter about
Mm.
Reevesky being the latest nonce. So yeah.
Latest. He's always been.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's
Or
taken over Wayne's
or
mantle.
famous or Mr. Wayne himself abusing Nala. That's a running joke for a while. Yeah,
But one key thing as well is it's also important to note that I'm one of these people. Banter is something that I live by, and but there's
yeah.
also a fine balance. So it's
Mm,
we have to reflect a lot, and I have to reflect myself sometimes. Am I hurting someone's feelings, or are they taking this banter well? And we do have to be careful of that in the community as well, because not only we're trying to create a safe haven for people, but we don't also want to be our community to be an area where it's toxic to that person, and therefore
no.
making their kind of experience of their safe haven not so safe anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it is that line that it is just. I mean, you see on the news sometimes where, there's a WhatsApp group in the police that made jokes and it's gone too far and then they've ended up getting fired and stuff like that. And
Mm.
obviously, you don't ever want to get to a point where you're having to heavily restrict everyone's sense of humor and having to HR
Mm.
just a hobby, basically. You don't want to get to that point. At the same time, though, you want to still just keep promoting that whole sense of family, that it's a safe space, that it's a place where people can just have fun. And I think it helps that you get to know people over time. And when you make darker jokes, because I've got a very dark sense of humor sometimes, then you know who it's okay to joke about with and who it's not.
Mm.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, I think Manic made me div host for Sunday Legacy?
I do. Yeah.
So in my typical fashion, instead of just doing the whole, hey, this is a race, let's go, then I created an alter fantastical world where I think Nala worked for Trump's government
I remember.
or something like that. And any local news or any world news became a parody of some sorts. And I remember making some of these jokes where I think one particular bad one, and was what was it? It was the forgive me for this. This might ban the podcast, but it was when the Israeli-Gaza conflict was going on, and they were talking about hostages and stuff like that, and it flicked up that certain number of people couldn't race that week. And so instantly, without checking the name or anything like that, I was like, well, these people can't race because they're being involved in the hostage exchange. They've obviously gone through an ordeal, and I'm sure they'll be back with us next week. And it was just meant to be that continuation of that story. It was then pointed out to me quite quickly in the voice chat of the race that one of the gentlemen in question did have a heritage to that region. And instantly I was like, oh no, like I may have really messed up here and insulted a guy or upset someone. And I messaged him privately. I was like, oh, look, hands up. 1, I didn't realize. 2, I'm very sorry if this joke's gone too far. And I think that's the key part, is we can have a joke, but it's also, there's got to be a line of respect, that basic amount which you show another person, how you would want to be treated if someone said something. Like, God, if anyone said anything about my kids, I'd tell them, no, that's too far, like, fuck off, kind of thing. And so I would want that person to immediately put their hands up and go, yeah, my bad, I'm sorry about that, kind of thing, rather than keep up that toxic behavior. And when it then becomes like a toxic behavior or like a regular toxic behavior, and we might see this even in some of our chats, which we try and reduce it as much as possible, where certain individuals do get a lot of stick, and it can sometimes be correct, if you like, if they've been playing up, or if they've just been having a very vocal opinion, or if they're going too far and someone then like lashes back. Okay, in my personal opinion, I think that's a bit of fair game. However, there's certain lines you don't cross, and it's again trying to make sure no one does go, because going back to the whole mental health thing, you don't know what someone is actually going through on the other side of that screen. You don't know what their life is. You don't know how traumatic, how triggering some certain phrases may be. Nowadays I work actually for the civil service, so we do a lot for the probation service. And in that, it's part of my job is actually around deaths of offenders in the Southwest, and a lot of it is around things like suicide, around things like substance abuse, and it is very quickly apparent, if you like, when you're reading like their story in a report, how they've ended up actually taking their own life. And it's all down to the fact that, not all down, but you can reflect and you can think that if I was in that situation, then I'd do things different. I would be able to talk about it. I'd be able to seek help. I'd probably be able to do this because I've got kids, and that's like a mental strength for myself. But when you're just making a comment online to someone that you don't really know that well, you really don't know how they're going to take it. I think that a lot of people listening to this podcast will probably listen to mine and your story today and go, oh shit, we had no idea. We had no idea that this has happened. And it's going to be really interesting to see everyone's reaction.
Yeah, while we're at it, then let's take a minute to talk about fibromyalgia, because it's one of those conditions that a lot of people will have heard of or not heard of, but not many people also really understand. So before me
Mm.
and kind of Noodles talk about our own experiences, because everybody's experiences is with fibro is definitely different. Let me give you
Mm.
kind of a gist as to what fibromyalgia is in the crux. But it's a long-term condition that causes widespread pain all over the body. It's not just sore muscle or a bad back day, it's a constant, sometimes unpredictable pain that can move around, and it can change intensity and affect everybody's life, every part of your daily life. But it's not only physical either, so it often comes with fatigue, poor sleep, brain fog, emotional strain, things you can't see. But they can just hit as hard as the pain itself. And that's why fibro is often, as we call it fibro, is often called an invisible illness. There's no single test or cure. There's no shortened lifespan, not on the whole anyway. Of course, looking after yourself, despite this, is still really key. But we're here just to talk about that. So anybody listening who lives with fibromyalgia or chronic pain, you're not alone. The struggle is real.
Mm.
And getting through a day deserves recognition.
Absolutely.
But it's dismissed and misunderstood. And as you heard Noodle say, his came into play from after a car crash. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, well, so at that point in my life, my youngest son was actually recently just born. So he was a baby, less than one. And I literally just done the school run. And I've got a stepdaughter who was 4 at the time. And I dropped her off to nursery. Benjamin was chilling with mum back at home. And for some reason, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go to a local fuel garage. I'm just going to do my tyres because I think they're a little low. And I regret that decision so much because it led to that accident. And actually, itself, it was actually quite a slow speed accident. It was at the edge of a roundabout. And on the inside, I had like a reinforced flatbed truck thing. Now, I was in my very nice red BMW 3 Series estate. And boy, do I miss that car. And I was on the left-hand lane. He was in the middle. And we both pulled away together. And there's even road markings on the floor. Left lane goes left, middle lane goes either straight or right. Well, this gentleman decided that as we pulled away, he would cut across myself. My car was then caught between the wheelbase, and dragged my car along, even with like me on the brakes. But the actual accident itself was below 30 miles an hour, and you normally don't think that, all right, no airbags or anything like that. There's not that bad of a deal or anything like that. I could walk. I got out of the car. Had no physical, or no real injuries at the time. Nothing like blood or lacerations or anything like that. And I just had a bit of whiplash. And yeah, these things happen. Like loads of us have had car accidents, bumps. We've either gone into the back of someone's done that to us, blah blah blah. And I didn't really think anything of it. And it was only after getting like physio, doing all the exercises and stuff like that, where this pain continued. And we tried different things. We tried acupuncture. We tried then painkillers at the doctors and stuff like that. And it then just became a constant. And it was about a year after treatment that doctor turned around to me and was like, I'm really sorry to say this, but this pain is actually chronic. Like, you are going to live with this for the rest of your life. And I kind of sat there a little shocked, didn't know what to say, didn't know how to react. And again, it's going back to that whole man up mentality of like, look, it's fine. I'll just deal with this. And I think at that point in my life, I had paused an army officer application. So I was an army reservist prior, did time with the cavalry and then the intelligence regiment for a bit. And my whole career plan was to go full time into the intelligence regiment. And yeah, a lot better life for my family, my own personal life, and stuff like that. That was my plan, and this essentially ruined it all because immediately with any type of back pain or neck pain, you're out. There's nothing that they'll do. There's nothing you could do, and to then go through the mental load of that and trying to then work out, well, shit, at the moment, my job working for a bank, it was meant to be a temporary thing. What am I going to do? What's my career plans? What's my plans for my family? Because at the time, I was the only financial income as well. So you had that financial burden as well looming over your shoulders. And again, it's that mental implication of it. And this essentially continued. And then 2 years when I had exhausted, as you say, all of the diagnosis
Is that how long the
things. It's like a list that you've got to go through. Yeah. And I then was put to a rheumatology specialist that was like, I think that the chronic neck pain has triggered something called fibromyalgia. And yeah, it explained my symptoms of like random nerve pain, of feeling like burning or anything like that. And there's such a long list. I won't bore the podcast and going through it.
Yeah.
But the best way I think I came across, do you do any, like, apart from gaming, do you do any reading or like any reading like sci-fi books or fantasy books, things like Lord of the Rings or anything like that?
Not as much as I used to, but more so if it is going to be historic. Usually war related. Take me back to Henry VIII or take me back to any war. I probably know enough about it, but yeah, not as much as I'd like to.
Absolute tangent, so screw this podcast, but have you ever heard of an author called Connor Golden?
Yes, I have.
My favourite author.
Really? Do you know how I got introduced to Connor? Was an old customer, because I'm a travel agent, in case you didn't know. He would come in with his book, and all the time he would try and leave it with me. And eventually I'd say, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. And eventually he left one. And that would be my reading book at lunch. Back when I worked in Reading, so this was 5-6 years ago. But yeah, absolutely. So I am very familiar.
Well, now that we've plugged our sponsor of Connor Golden, the book series, available on Amazon and Waterstones, then going back to the podcast. So the best way I can describe fibromyalgia is essentially being possessed by a demon. And that demon is trying to fight your body for control. And it does that by trying to break you down. And whether that's through physical torture of pain, and it could be like the electric jab that you feel, or like you wake up and because something to do with the weather where like there's a tiny bit of rain, your body then feels like it's an 80-year-old arthritis patient, and every movement just feels like you've just gone for like a marathon the day before. And it's then that little voice on your shoulder that tells you you're not good enough, that why are you being so lazy? And that's the best way I can describe fibromyalgia. It's like living with a demon. And to deal with that then is you've actually got to take, rather than try and fight this demon for control where you'll lose, you've actually kind of got to try and make peace with it, to then try and change your mindset, to work in different ways, to see the positives, to then build up your momentum in a complete different way, in a positive light. So yeah, fibromyalgia is such a dick. Like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I have many. Stocker for one of them.
It's very much. So I was, I think 17. Well, that's right. So here's my story.
Really, that's quite young.
Different, very young. So I had basically when I was 14, 15. There's a few, I think, triggers. First and foremost, I had appendicitis and lost my appendix, and then the second part is not so nice, is testicular torsion. And I believe those things, or some of those things, are what caused my fibro, alongside my height. What happened was, simplest way of putting it is, in year 11 or end of year 10, I was bottom bench height. You know, when you do your school photos.
Oh, right.
By the
Okay.
end of year 11, I was the tallest in the class. So I basically went from a 5 foot nothing to 6'2" in
Wow.
really quick succession, really quick time. So what then led me to go into doctors and hospitals and thing was chest pain.
Okay.
Eventually, that led to, I don't know if you heard of costochondritis, which is basically muscle knots in your rib cages and stuff like that. And I was getting acupuncture treatment for that at the age of 17, but no fibromyalgia diagnosis at the time.
Mm.
And then life just became really hard. Like getting up, I could have 10 hours sleep
Mm.
and I would just not be able to get up. It's as if the best way of
Preach.
explaining it is you'd got home at 5 o'clock in the morning, you were trying to, get up for college at 7, and that's how it feels, even though you've been to sleep actually at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
The night before. Um, yeah, and I was struggling with that kind of thing. I was missing college time, and then just loads of different symptoms that some people associate with and some others don't, and that's the key takeaway of fibro. I get a lot of fake infections because that's the only way I can describe it. So I've been to the doctor
Okay.
17 times for um, bladder infections and swelling. So swelling, even because of
Mm.
my torsion, I think, even like going to the doctor with swelling of testicles, and then what they'd say to me is, "Oh, you need to go to the gum clinic. You probably got chlamydia." And I'm like, "Well, I've done 4 tests since I've been going to you. I've not slept with anybody different. I've not
Yeah.
got any sexual diseases. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go to the gum clinic." Then I'm at the gum clinic proving myself. Then they're saying, "Yeah, we can see it's swollen, but yeah, it's just don't know. It's fake."
I like the
You're
idea of you messaging Armin going, "Who have you slept with?
Armin,
I've got
are you
chlamydia.
cheating
The
on me,
doctor's
sir?
telling me, Armin, what have you done?"
Armin, it's just meant to be me and you forever. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so 17 times I think I went, and I have been, even with my current partner, I've been for certain stuff. And
Mm.
you know, to talk about mental health and things is key, but also to kind of openly talk about, because this is something I don't talk about to people. I don't talk about the struggles and the worries of, for God's sake, I've got ball problems again, right? And I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
that's what goes hand in hand, being able to open up and go, do you know what? I'm not embarrassed. Like, this
Yeah.
is weighing me down. It is making me really unhappy in life. And people can sit there and have these things and go, do you know what, that guy has spoken up, and I would never have done that. And if it can change one person to go and see a doctor or go and speak to a friend about something that might be concerning them, even a health manner, then go for it.
Yeah. 100%. And I agree that it is, again, going back to that whole of like men normally try and avoid seeking help just because they do fear either being embarrassed in that way or be seen as like less of a man. And
Mm.
like, so, I mean, as a quick one, with fibromyalgia and all this, medication. I think medication is a big talking point because when you, and it goes back to that conversation about crutches and substances,
Not my crutch,
a
or
lot
no.
of,
If we talk about my crotch, I get what you mean.
not,
Yeah.
that's a dad joke. Yeah, I love it. Not your crutch, but the dad joke. But anyway, moving on before I get a message from Armin saying to stop hitting on my wife. Yeah, things like painkillers. So
Yeah.
our body's reaction of having pain is to take painkillers, and that we normally see that as like a generalized thing. But then after a while, those painkillers then change and they don't have the same effect on your body. So you end up taking more painkillers and trying different things, trying different anti-inflammatories. And one thing I learned a bit too late was these things have side effects. And so for myself, then trying to deal with fibromyalgia, like my health and stuff like that, I went from being this really fit, army person climbing up mountains, feeling like I was like the best that I could be. Then suddenly this shell of that individual was difficult. And it wasn't just difficult for myself, but it was also for my loved ones around me. And it takes its toll, not just on you as the individual, but you, the people around you. And because I closed up, because I didn't often want to talk about it to like colleagues, friends, then I ended up either just sending all of my like seeking for help to my ex-wife essentially at the time. And that then put unnecessary stresses on her because she was the only focal point that I felt comfortable in talking to.
Yeah.
But when I then had these bad days, and my son and daughter being less than 5, less than 7, like through the years, they don't know what's going on. They don't understand. And sometimes when you're in a fibro flare up, your body itself goes into a very sensitive mode where the lightest touch feels like you've just been bruised or you've just been hurt, or like your son wants to come over and play fight and your body then overreacts, and it's not something that you can keep up with. And one, it's of either overreaction to pain, and then because you're in pain, people naturally bite. Like I will come across incredibly stern, and I look back and I regret it so much. Like the moments where I have snapped at the kids and I have been immediately too angry in the way I talk to them just because of what I'm going through. And yeah, it has a huge effect over time. And with my relationship and stuff like that, then I think the crash and the change, it kind of killed that relationship. And over the years and stuff like that, things like the side effects of medication, like one of them is in the fibro medication of duloxetine that I was taking, is what's the impotence as well. So like if you then think about like how that affects a relationship and stuff like that, then if you're trying to then fix things with your partner and stuff like that, you're like, yeah, like I want to go for it, and then because the medication you're on, you're tired, you're out of it, it's not no, nothing's working properly, and you do feel suddenly that you are this 80-year-old trapped. And you don't then want that for your family. You don't want that for your kids. You want to be able to be that fun dad of throwing your kid up in the air, and that classic of, yeah, let's go kick a ball about. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And it's hard to then let that go. And when my wife, my wife at the time, I went through a period of time where suddenly I wasn't allowed to drive. I was under investigation for like my heart, and I was overly tired. And what didn't help was I was trying to work like 50-hour weeks as a mortgage broker, trying to then still be dad, trying to then keep all these plates spinning, and I just burned out. And because I wasn't allowed to drive, then my work was like, yeah, unfortunately, we've got to let you go. We're a small business. We can't take this hit. And I then had that period of time where I was off work, and your mental health goes absolutely in the bin. And you're trying to rebuild yourself. You're trying to be the person you want to be. And it's incredibly hard because you're then stuck in that feedback loop I mentioned earlier, where you're kicking yourself, you're keeping yourself down. And I started improving. I started engaging in any help I could have. I took probably shouldn't have done this, but I detoxed cold turkey from all my medication. And I was taking like 9-10 tablets, all prescribed. And that was a day, and it would be a max dose of paracetamol, codeine, lidocaine patches, like anything that could reduce it. And I stopped cold turkey because I had to change something. I was
Yeah.
losing my partner at the time. I was then the idea of losing my kids, or well, not losing my kids, but like suddenly splitting
Yeah.
my time with the kids, that sucked. And I had to have that drastic change. And so I then went through that detox, and I then started doing things a bit better for myself. I went on dog walks. I went out the house. I tried to go back to the person I used to be, rather than being scared of going out and about because I was too afraid that I'd do too much to then have a flare up or anything like that. I would try and socialize more. I'd try and be that better person. And one of the best helps I had was my brother.
Really?
And
Yeah.
massive. And it goes back to talking about it, seeking help. And my brother was always the type of person I could just be straight with, but he'd gone through shit himself. And one of the best encouragements I could have was, "Hey, you did a thing today. Well done." That's so small compliment
Just made
just
such a
boosted
huge
me
difference.
massively.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, what was it? A friend of mine goes for a run for the first time in ages. And because of my experience with like my brother, I'm like, actually, I know what he said to me that day
The small
helped me
compliments.
massively, helped me boost me. So I want to pass it on. And you want to keep that building momentum, not just for yourself, but for other people around you, as you just want to kind of surround yourself with that positivity. And yeah, and funny enough, a couple of months later, I then joined the PGR community. And again, surrounding that with that second family, that boost to your social side, to the very essence of your life, and building each other up in a friendly, banterous way is amazing. And I look back on my life now, having been in the league for what, 2 years roughly.
Yeah.
And I've gone from, okay, the relationship never worked. And I look back and I'm actually quite grateful for it, because it kicked me up the arse to actually change things drastically, change my approach, change what I was doing. And I feel very lucky as to what I've got now because of my effort and that momentum that I've built. I've managed to, I've managed to find employment. I've managed to find something that works for myself, for my kids. I've managed to finish that 8, 9, 10 year car crash lawsuit that was a great stressor through the years. I've got a place for my kids to sleep, and they're doing great. And it's really easy to see now what I could have done many years prior.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're blinded, you're shrouded. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Fibro's a dick. That's
Fibro
the
is a
main
dick.
point.
Just a brief pause away from Fibro. Then I know I want you to do your poem. My partner's bought me the book. It's The Gates of Rome. Because I messaged her when you were talking.
Yes!
I messaged her going, yes.
Yeah.
Which one is it? That's in my thingy.
The
And it's
Emperor
The Gates
series.
Of Rome. Yes.
Yep, that's my favorite series.
And I heard
All
there was
about
an
Julius
Athens one, but I
Caesar.
haven't seen that one yet. Read that one yet. That was the most
There
recent one that
is.
he brought out.
There is. I've got the book on my bookshelf somewhere,
Because
but I haven't
obviously he
actually
did
read
the
it yet.
Mongolians and stuff. Never mind. That's me and you can discuss that after. But
Yeah,
I just
that's
wanted
the second
to.
podcast.
I wanted to list off a few things that fibro people, kind of have in regards to. So obviously you've heard Noodles say quite a bit about the kind of widespread pain. You can have fake flare-ups, as I call it, but flare-ups of anywhere part of your body. So I've also had flare-ups of things such as a lot of earaches that you think are being caused by something. We need to go to see a doctor. There's nothing there. I've had
Viral coughs. That's
yeah,
one.
yeah. I've had like a lot of trying to think of the word for them now. They are kind of what's the lymph nodes. So lymph nodes will flare up randomly, and then all of a sudden the doctor will go, "Oh, I can't feel anything," even though you can quite clearly feel even under your armpits, even towards your groin area. You get numbness. One of my big issues is in the back, so lumbar pain, and therefore I have numbness in my right leg. Sometimes I cannot feel my right quad at all. It's just because my nerve
Oh, okay.
compression on my leg's really weird. But again, people touching you, but also itching. Changes of temperature can really wreak havoc on you. So going from
I hate that.
right now, I am struggling with the aircon being on off, and the weather changing to quite a cool day like today. But we just
you
want
can't control your own temperature at all. It sucks.
It does.
Yeah, you go from a room. I don't know. I'll go outside. I'm freezing, and then I go back in, and it's roughly the same temperature, but suddenly I'm hot. There's no rhyme nor reason, and it's a nightmare to try and get your head around, especially then trying to get a good night's sleep, where your body's in pain, trying to wake you up, and you go to bed cold, and then you wake up absolutely sweating because your body just can't control and navigate.
And I just want to point out
feel
as
your
well,
pain.
because obviously me and Noodles are speaking of our likenesses about fibro, but I know there's people in the server, as Noodles has already mentioned, like people like Egolf, people like your boy Dev, who's meant to be on today, who has also had bad experiences in the past, and people like Manic as well, since COVID has openly said there's been a few things he's struggled with, and just wanted to raise that it's okay not to be okay, even medically, and things like that, and it's not just the
Massively.
mental side of things that can obviously affect your mental health. It's also the physical side. So reach out if you're ever having just a bad day. I know that sometimes I really struggle just because of the pain I'm in, and therefore that can then, of course, affect my mental health. But it's just key that we lean on each other when we need to. And yeah. So do you want to do your
100%.
Do you want to do your poem?
Oh, my poem.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Then we'll close the
I'll do
fibro
a poem.
topic because we've spoken enough about it. We've bored enough people about it, and then we'll kind of
fair.
close.
It's more of a personal therapy session, I think, at this point.
It's nice, isn't it?
Okay, so this poem is called The Fibro Grand Prix. The lights go out, 5 red, and I'm slow off the line. Underfloor damage, this body's design. Suspension's too stiff, every bump feels like pain, yet the stewards insist I must race in the rain. My sensors misfire, can't regulate heat. One lap I'm freezing, the next I overheat. Fuel mix is faulty, the engine misfires. Exhausted in practice, yet burning the tyres. The pit crew is baffled, no fix in the plan. Invisible issues, they don't see the scan. And over the radio, the judgment comes through. You can't be this slow. Fernando's 2 seconds faster than you. Mental health, safety car slows down the race. But Ferrari pitwall has cluttered the race. Their tactics bring darkness, their guidance is wrong, and each lap feels like quali where the grip is long gone. But teammates remind me, I'm still on the grid. Even with damage, I'll race as I did. So I circle the circuit with humour in tow. A champion of pacing, not the fastest, but slow. Fibro's the rival, relentless and sly. Yeah, I'll finish the season, no DNF. Well, I'll try.
Nice.
There you go.
That was
little
very
poem.
good. Yeah. And you won't be DNFing, but Tuck will. That's a given. So
absolutely. If I'm in the same race as him, little shit. Took me out in fucking Jeddah. Yeah, I'm totally over that. Fucking also. Sorry, did the mic pick that up?
This is literally a quick fire thing. Let's just talk about this keeping things uplifting. What's helped, and what would be good advice to give to someone with the coping mechanisms, support, and hope as well?
Quick fire. Touch and base. Talking to the people around you. Like, there's been so many times now where I'll turn around to the people I'm closest, and if I'm feeling down, and sometimes with my mental health, it's like a roller coaster. It'll go up, it'll go down, and the down points are really, really quite low. And we've touched base on things like suicide, and I don't think we've mentioned things like self-harm, but going quickly back to the fibro, then fibro makes suicide 10 times more likely.
Yeah.
And it's 3 or 3.5 times bigger of an increase than any other chronic pain thing. And it's always lovely to hear that you've got more of a chance in things, but I think this one a little sucks. So the down parts specifically, when you're in them, it's to just try and self-analyze, to just recognize that you're in that mode, and that's actually okay, and that sure, today's a write-off, but tomorrow's a new day, and it's a new chance. It's a new opportunity, new things to try different things, new jokes, new banters, all sorts. And what was it? This is fibrofog. So fibrofog, by the way, if you don't know, is where you're mid-conversation and then you have no idea what you were just about to say. And I had a point, and now it's absolutely gone. It'll come to me in a second. So in your darkest moments, essentially, one of the funniest things I saw on the internet was like it was about suicide, which is awful to say, and I really hope that that's not clipped. But essentially, some guy was like, "I just don't think I can keep going on," and his friend just comes around and says, "I'd like to keep going," and you know why? It's like, why? Pizza. I really like pizza. And you know what? I want to eat more of it. And I just thought that is such a great, fantastic clip, that it doesn't have to be the most epic of reasons to keep going. It doesn't have to be the, I don't know, most inspiring. It could be something as stupid as that can just keep you going. And yeah, when I've been down and I recognize it, I know that tomorrow's a new day, but you know what? I just want to touch base. And so I'll message people like my brother. I'll message Diablo. I'll message Stocker and turn around to them and say, I'm not wanting a conversation about it. I'm not wanting like a talk or anything like that. But I just want you to know that I'm having a bad day. So if you could send me random gifts and make some very poor jokes, that'll cheer me up. That'd be great.
Games. That's what about just playing games.
Yeah, play games. Or
and sometimes you just need someone to listen
Phasma
instead of fixing it.
That's
no
true.
No one's going to be able
That's
to
very
necessarily fix it, but someone just to listen and offer an ear, I think is so crucial. I think that's a coping mechanism. Alongside that, talking and the therapy, I think why not journal how you feel? How
that's a great shout.
Get involved in hobbies. If you don't have a hobby, what can you do? Try and research what maybe something that you might take interest of you and see how more heavily involved you can get in that. Take your mind off things. Hobbies is a really good one. I know we do a hobby in regards to Formula One, but you might want something that's outside of your house or just something completely different to what you're doing right now. But just normalize checking in with your mates. Yeah,
absolutely. You say that, going back on it, I think I had Pigeon down my end of the woods one day, and he was saying how he was potentially thinking about doing a marathon. And I actually thought about it, and I was like, why don't we just try and run a marathon at some point? And I was like, it will take fucking years to actually train for it and to try and get to that point, but I was like, let's just set up like a little group just to kind of encourage each other to exercise, encourage each other to do things, like give each other like a little pat on the back to say, hey, you've just played like 7-a-side football, like well done you, go you, well done you for trying something different. And going back to that whole my brother comment of, hey, you've done something really stupid today, well done, go you. It's that bringing people around you, building that community around you again to encourage you to do different things. And I remember we video called Pirate Danny at the time, and I was like, hey, Danny, you're into fitness nowadays. I was like, basically, we're not giving you a choice in this. We're going to actually just sign you up to run a marathon with us at some... we just kidnapped him socially and said, look, we're going to do this. We'd like you to be a part of it. But yeah, like other people then like kind of heard that we were doing it and wanted to join in. So yeah, we had Tuck join in. Who else? Not sure Diablo's in there, but it was awesome just to kind of have that space to go, hey, let's do this. Like, let's meet up in person. Let's try and do different things. And one of the best favorite lines of there's a very famous Roman emperor called Marcus Aurelius. Is I won't bore you guys to death because I could speak a podcast on it in the least, but essentially he was a Roman emperor and he had a lot of trauma in his life. Lost sons, he managed the Roman Empire through 2 plagues and all sorts. And he is a lot to do with what we now use for things like CBT therapy and something called Stoicism. And essentially it's one, only acting on things that are in our control. And if they're not in our control, then we shouldn't stress about them. Secondly, there's phrases like memento mori from his journals themselves. So he was a big fan of journaling, and it was purely just for his own self-recognition, self-discovery. And he wrote the lines memento mori, which basically means that you could die at any time. And in nowadays, that could mean that you could cross the street and get hit by a car. You could have a piano falling from a great height, like in a cartoon, and hit you on the head and stuff. But because of that, then anything and everything that you put yourself to do today, you should do with 100% of your ability, because you don't know necessarily when this is going to be your last. So the next time things like your kid wants to play and you're a little tired and you're just almost being a bit lazy, actually do it. And part of it isn't necessarily things like, I'm going to go run a marathon, because I'll be perfectly honest, I don't actually think that I'll ever get to that stage. But you know what? I'm actually going to really enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy trying. I'm going to enjoy better myself. And there's another phrase of, if you aim for the moon, even if you miss, then you'll still end up along the stars. I like that. So set yourself a goal, work towards it. And even if you don't actually reach it, you've still done something to strengthen yourself. So yeah, things like basic routines, self-care, simple things like brush your teeth, go to bed on time, get enough sleep. All of that is some awesome things to do, but don't do it alone. Like, try and talk to people. Like, if people are listening here and they just want someone to give them a random GIF and a thumbs up, feel free to message. And
I want a Team America video. Wayne, if you're listening, when I'm down, I want the Team America videos and the GIFs to be sent, please. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human. It's okay to not be okay. And if this chat helps just one person open up or reach out, I think me and Noodles will be happy, you know. So we're just going to kind of close up now. Just bearing in mind we've been talking a while, but again, I just want to raise to everybody that today me and Noodles have been speaking because our charity event on Saturday, the race for 12-hour race for Men Who Talk, and you can donate by going onto the link that will be attached in the YouTube blurb. If you're on Spotify, if you head to our YouTube, then you can then donate there. Or if you're part of our community and in our Discord, then we have the link there as well. Any amount is appreciated, and we just want to make sure that hopefully, I can't believe actually, Noodles, that you've managed to throw in Marcus Aurelius into a conversation about.
I tried to do it casually, and I tried to do it like, people have learned that I'm autistic, and that's one of the things I've learned about myself in the last couple of years. And so I'll have like a subject that I'm suddenly into and then really hyper focus on it. And then because it's a passion of mine, I'm like, hey, everyone else, let's talk about this. And people get bored of me and all sorts.
I was thinking, what have they taken away from this session? Oh, he's thrown in Marcus Aurelius, one of the last of the 5 good Caesars, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So closing from yourself, Noodles, what would you like to say to the PGR community as an ending?
In the nicest way, fuck you all. But at the same time, I love you all. And you guys honestly make my day every day. Even if it's the stupidest of things like Pirate Danny telling me that I haven't actually done my stewarding role, and please, everyone's waiting on my opinions, sort my life out. Little things like that. And like the jokes, the memes, the GIFs, the every little thing, just adding to that community and just trying to have fun. That's absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, you guys have really made a massive difference, more so than any words that I could say on this podcast, to my life, just by being part of it. So
Great, man.
Part of that, if there's anything I can do for you casually, because I'm not going to send you guys money, because I'm not that rich, but there is something, but I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, if you want to chat, if you want to talk, you want to open up about feelings or anything like that, honestly, I'm more than happy to spend time out of my day to do it. Because if you name it, I think I've got some relative experience around it. So yeah, I'm happy to try and assist. But the last thing I'd like to close up on, and obviously, please try and donate to this charity. It's a big, passionate project for myself and others. But if you do take out tuck in the races and the events, I'm more than happy to donate an extra 50 quid to the charity. So I'd like to just plug that there, so that way I get a certain personal satisfaction of revenge, and we're also doing a really good thing for charity. So yeah.
Excellent, brilliant. That is a brilliant. I'll be looking out for that Saturday in the comms. You'll find out more information on the day, but I just want to do a closing off thing. So, and the key thing for me to say to you guys is it starts with a conversation. We've talked a lot about pain, physical pain, mental pain, and the stuff most of us try to bury. But what stands out to me is every single one of us has felt lost, tired, or broken at some point in our lives. And the truth is, strength doesn't mean staying silent. It means speaking up. It means checking in on your mates and then letting them also check in on you, because silence doesn't make you strong. Honesty and talking does. And whether it's through racing as well, like gaming or just sitting down for a chat, we can all be that safe space for someone. And if you're listening to this and struggling, talk, message someone, reach out.
Absolutely.
You're not alone. You never have been. And this is for episode or podcast. It's for every man who's ever done fine when you weren't. We see you, we hear you, and it's okay not to be okay. So let's just keep talking, because that's where change starts. We hope you've enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you Saturday, and thank you very much for listening to us. Natter on.
All the best, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.